For those who competed decades ago, speeding down highways, through towns, country roads. For those who sat watching on the sides of the street, who found solace in chaos and thunderous speed. Even for those who grew up without the sights and the sounds, and live without race cars shaking the ground. Who don't understand why racing appeals to our fascination, wonder, and the way that we feel. A purpose-built place to camp and spend time with friends, watching racing together until darkness descends. Though no longer do the streets rumble and roar, there's a place just for this, a park to explore.
A road racing circuit before the assault. The 4 twisting, beautiful miles at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. For 6 brutal, ear-shattering hours, its serenity will be violated by the raw power of screaming racing machines. It's the famed end-of-season endurance classic, the Road America 500. The specially constructed race circuit at Elkhart Lake at normal speed is a scenic 4-mile drive through fall-tinted Wisconsin countryside.
Hidden by forests near Elkhart Lake, not a path nor trail, but a road meant to race. In a town too quiet, the refuge we seek. Road America, the racetrack, the National Park of Speed.
Road America is among the gold standard for racing circuits, always providing top-notch racing and atmosphere, which makes it a staple on any iRacing League calendar. We check in tonight from Elkhart Lake for round number 2 of the Simpit Road Racing Series, and our field of Pro and Am GTE drivers are nearly ready to go racing. Hi, welcome to Pit Stop TV and Virtual Road America. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV with JP Costa alongside. Welcome back, JP. We are 1 round into the season now, and I've learned a bit more about these drivers, but the character at this racing circuit seems to bring out extra unknowns for any series and any drivers, no matter the circumstance.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me back, Andrew. I definitely missed not being here for the season opener last week, but I'm definitely very happy to be here at Road America. It's one of my favorite racing tracks to not only commentate, but also race when I had the opportunity, and I feel like that's a bit of the same for you in the whole sim racing world. It's just a fantastic, simple course. You can see there, even from the logo, you know, it's out of the coda, a bit of the complicated, back to the basics, I guess. Long straightaways, big braking zones, medium, slow, and fast corners, and that's what makes this a fantastic course.
There is a look at the track map here, presented today by Whiplash Media Simcams, and you can see it is very much, I think, a simple track on paper, but there's complexity in every corner, every bend, even turn number 2. Yes, there's some complexity there, even though it looks like a straight line past that quarter marshal stand. There is so much going on at Road America, and it's such a big circuit as well, so to get everything right is oh so important. If you miss any corner on this racetrack, it is going to hurt you on the subsequent straightaway. Now, yes, some of those straightaways are shorter than others, but again, if you miss any corner on this racetrack, if you do not execute in any one corner on this racetrack, it is going to come back and bite you in some way, shape, or form. There's no gimmies here at Road America. You have got to be on point. That's a look at our track map. Let's take a look at our point standings then for round number 2 today. And you can see Terry Crouch and David Payne taking their victories, at least per what we were given. So yes, we had some discrepancies in the, I guess, class identifiers, if you will, last week. That should be all sorted now, so you can see where each of these drivers pan out in pro and amateur competition. Terry Crouch with the win at Coda over Randall White, Jan Christensen, Stand On It, and Moses Choi there in the top 5. And you can see on the right side, JP, our amateurs, well, the points aren't any different, but we're going to see these guys move around just as much.
Yeah, absolutely. It was only one round of 10 tonight. Obviously, we have the second. Those that didn't have a good race last time out, today is the time to essentially bounce back and try to, claw back that championship deficit. Obviously, Terry Crouch and David Payne, they both won last week. So, they're looking to repeat what they did. And yeah, as you mentioned, tonight, after tonight's race, we're going to have a bunch of drivers moving up and down. And it's going to be interesting to see how it all compares to this standings right here.
Practice is wrapping up. Drivers are bringing their cars to the pit lane. Some are still on the track, like Todd Alea, a brand new driver to the series. Let's take a look at Todd's number 27 Porsche RSR as he heads down to turn number 1. And of course, we're going to look at all drivers, or at least most drivers, throughout the course of today through qualifying and the lot. Randall White in the pit lane, Wolfgang Rausch coming down the pit lane, Joao Antonio now onto the pit lane, everybody coming in. Olas Rundqvist, though, is on the racetrack. Looks like he's not going to finish this lap. Neither will Sam Hinchey, who is in the carousel. So, several drivers out on track for practice, but literally 3 seconds to go. Let's take a look at our schedule then, JP, and here is a look at it. Now, you might see this a bit differently from what we had originally back at Spa, and yes, it is a bit different from what we had initially, but this is the schedule for this season. A couple of changes that were made, I think, pre-season on the iRacing side, and we just had an old copy of the schedule, but we've gotten that fixed. You can see this. These are our 10 races. We're already through Circuit of the Americas last week on October the 2nd. Now it's October the 9th. We are at Road America. It's Watkins Glen, Silverstone, Daytona the first half of the schedule before we head out to Italy for Monza for round 6, then Austria, Le Mans, Sebring, and Fuji. It is stacked with good racing.
Yeah, absolutely. This layout is just amazing. From what I can mentally tell, Fuji was the third round, wasn't it? Now it's the season finale. I think it was a bit up, but still a fantastic race on the back end of the grid. Obviously, when championship is up for grabs, those racetracks, Andrew, Austria, Le Mans, Sebring, and Fuji, they're going to be fantastic to see drivers going at it to try and obviously seal that title. So I cannot wait. But obviously, this first part as well, Austin, Road America, Watkins Glen, Silverstone, and Daytona, they're all amazing.
And what this kind of inadvertently gives us is kind of a split schedule where it feels very IMSA in the first half and very WEC in the second half. We have a lot of American racetracks, Austin, Watkins Glen, I skipped right over Road America, and Daytona right here in the first half, and of course Sebring later on in the season. But then once you get to round 6, we have Monza, Red Bull Ring, Le Mans, and Fuji. Very much an international calendar there at the back. So really kind of a split the way this has worked out, I think a little bit unintentionally, but hey, we will take it here for the Simpit Road Racing Series. Qualifying, though, on track, and drivers are taking their first opportunity to get out there as a group and start setting their lap times for what will line up our field of 30-plus drivers here this afternoon. Kenny Stepp, one of the first cars on track. Alish Mom on track as well. Sam Holt, Randall White, Ed Sanchinelli. I'm just looking all through this field. So many drivers getting straight on track, and there is Kenny Stepp right into the barrier. That is Canada Corner, and that is not where you want to be.
Oh, absolutely not. And you can see it took him, nearly 2 minutes just to get to that point, Andrew, and then just one small mistake sends him right back to the pit stop. So he's going to have to do all that again. You can see right here, Alish Mom currently on the carousel, if I'm not mistaken. And you can see just right here, this beauty of a racetrack, the Corvette with this beautiful interior, one of my favorites, if I'm being honest. And it looks like he's going to be heading to that spot that we just saw, that Ferrari, unfortunately running a bit wide and onto the gravel trap. But this is just a lap, and you can see the speeds there over 150, close to 160 down to the braking zones. And yeah, we overtake that. So really fast, really big braking zones down here.
Love these drone shots above Road America for a look at Alesh's lap time, or his lap anyways. When he comes around, he will get his lap time. Nobody has a time in this session just yet, but we're going to see that change here in a moment, and Alesh could be one of the first drivers to complete a lap. So we'll stay on board here with car 194 up to the start-finish line and see if, yes, this is a complete lap or not. And it looks like, no, that might have just been an outlap. So that was a really long outlap, I feel like, for Alesh. But Sam Holt, one of the drivers that is on his first lap. Randall White and Sanchinelli, some of the others. And of course, we have to watch out for Terry Crouch. Coming off of a win last week at Circuit of the Americas, car 59 is going to be quick.
It certainly is. I think he's going to be the benchmark. Obviously, if you're just coming in blind, obviously you want to be as fast as the guy that won last week. because obviously he's going to be, extra motivated to do it again. And you can see that right there on his current lap time, he's going to be setting a fast lap right here. And if he does not invalidate this lap, or has not invalidated this lap in any way, shape, or form, down into the big braking zone of Canada corner, then out into this tricky final sector, using all the road available, using all the curbs, and now he's onto the final 2 corners. And you can see right here, just using a bit of that escape road. Now as you turn in, the car just likes to drift out wide so you can get the best racing line possible down into the straight, and now you go up, and well, it's foot flat to the floor.
Up the uphill and to the start finish line. There goes Terry Crouch as he completes his first lap of qualifying, and it goes second to Randall White. So Randall will take, it looks like, the pole for now. Wolfgang Rausch comes in, Amir Assad, and Amir Assad, boy, he had a rough time, but he's going to have another rough time here today. My goodness. That is not how he wants his qualifying run to continue here. Already the slowest of the drivers to complete a lap time takes that header into the barrier, but you saw Jan Christensen come across the line. Second place last week, I believe it was. No, it was third, actually. Backseat to Randall White and Terry Crouch, but Jan Christensen was fantastic, sensational, if you will, at COTA last week. Just didn't quite have what it took to get up there and battle for the race win. But third place, that is not a bad way to start the season, and is on pole currently with 5 minutes left in the session.
Yeah, absolutely, and quite a healthy gap to pole. 4/10 of a second ahead of second place, and so far he's doing everything he needs to do. And obviously, 7/10 of a second, Andrew, 7.5 almost ahead of Terry Crouch, who obviously won last time out. You can see right here the BMW of Santinelli currently looks like he's opening up his second flying lap, if I'm not mistaken, and currently 2.1 seconds behind pole. But if I'm not mistaken as well, Andrew, pole position for the amateur class.
That's the way it looks for Santinelli, yes. Fastest amateur driver so far. Stan Donen does go to 5th, so moving ahead of Terry Crouch and some others in the top 10, but that's well ahead of Santinelli. A lot of pros being stacked up in the top 13 cars so far. Then a few amateurs in Santinelli, Oberlo, Van Mariek, and Mom, and even Waters and Batista in the top 20. So definitely a big divide already in qualifying here today, and I did not expect that, honestly. This is usually one of those tracks that is a bit of an equalizer between pro and amateur, so we'll see if that changes in racing conditions from qualifying. But Santinelli right now the best of the amateur drivers, sitting in the 14th position in car 57. Let's go on board with somebody that I think will be great today. That's Randall White as he comes across the line. It looks like he's going to wrap up his qualifying run, actually, as Sam Holt goes to the top of the board.
And what a lap. Look at that, 0.6 of a second ahead of Christensen. So an absolute flying lap. And can Christensen improve? No, he won't, barely. He pretty much matches his previous lap time, which was his best. So that might be his qualifying. He might have one more lap in his belt. And you can see right here Troy as well, unfortunately not going as quickly, Andrew. So Sam Holt absolutely, blitzing the timing sheet, 0.6 of a second. That is an impressive lap. Can Terry Crouch, though, beat him on this probably final attempt?
He's got a lot of work to do, and yeah, this is going to be his final time. I think his final out lap that he's taken. This is his next timed lap, but there's no way he gets back to the pit lane and gets back out there to complete a lap. So he can complete this lap and maybe take one more. But I'm noticing a lot of these drivers are doing that strategy, JP, where we see they go and run one lap and tow straight back to the pit lane, and some of them are getting their final opportunity to do that. But Terry's not going to have another opportunity to do so, as you saw him kick the rear end out there in turn 5, likely going to hurt this lap time. It looks like maybe a little bit of oversteering conditions for car 59 potentially, but looks stable through 6 and 7. And I think turn 8 will be another really great test as to whether or not that car is handling correctly. And it looks pretty okay right out to the exit curbing. No big issues there for Terry Crouch. It looks like maybe just an oddity there in turn 5.
Yeah, it looks like maybe just something wasn't quite right. But as you mentioned, the car looks to be sticking out perfectly. He looks to be pretty stable. And but obviously, Andrew, this is such a massive track. If he can manage to get just a tiny little bit of slipstream, it looks like there's no one ahead of him. He could be able to essentially, get a few tenths of a second. But that looks like it's not going to be the case. Now heading into Canada corner, the final sector of this racetrack. We unfortunately cannot see on his dashboard if he's up or down his previous lap time. But you can definitely see that he's pushing to the absolute limit right here.
Dan Clarnow is currently the top amateur driver in 13th in car 114. Second in amateur currently is Dustin Oberlo. followed up by David Sarator, Ed Sanchinelli, and Brandon Waters. But to the line here for Terry Crouch. Can he go any faster in this qualifying run? That was just off the mark, and it looked that way throughout most of the lap, especially in turn 5. Not what Terry wanted at all for his, what was that, third lap of qualifying. Definitely just off right now. But let's check in then with our current amateur pole sitter. Car 114, Wally's jeans, it looks like, on the side of that car. Dan Clark in the denim special, rounding the carousel.
And you can see right there in that Porsche, he has a good gap to the second place on his class. Andrew looks like he's going to be finishing one more lap right here. You can see right here heading into the kink. That Porsche looks very stable. Now, obviously, the trick braking zone down into Canada corner if he wants to improve that gap that he currently has to the number 45 of Oberlo. And you can see right there, there's almost 6/10 of a second. Now he breaks down into Canada corner, tackles the curb beautifully, extends a bit, not too much wide. And you can see right there the difference between him and Terry Crouch in the approach. Now heading into the final 2 corners once again, using a bit of that curb on the inside. And now the final corner, Andrew. This is one of the most important braking zones of the circuit because look at that. It's all flat out, but looks like it's going to be diving into the pits, so that's really not going to matter.
Yeah, unfortunately, that run will come to an end for Clark as, Generelli goes to the top of the board, or not top of the board, but goes higher on the board anyways, up to 6th, so just one spot out of the top 5 for number 7. Dan Clark is done with his qualifying run, as is Dustin Oberlo in AM. Sam Hinchy, though, goes to the top, or not, I keep saying to the top, goes faster anyway. 13th position for Sam Hinchy now. That is 13th overall and 13th in pro, as that is just ahead of Dan Clark, the amateur pole sitter. How about David Sarator in car 46? He was just behind Dan Clark. We saw that Corvette in the background, but it looks like he's stopping and bringing his run to an end. So quickly, qualifying is wrapping up for these drivers. There's not many left on the racetrack. Sam Holt is on the racetrack, though, and actually he's purple right now. Oh, we could have a heater coming.
Oh, this could be the lap, Andrew. This could be a very, very interesting lap.
Never mind, pit lane.
Nope. Yeah. Oh, well, it would have been.
It was going to be a pretty good lap, but I think maybe running out of fuel there had to come on in. Shades of Max Verstappen, unfortunately. How about Mike Nickham currently on the racetrack in car 56? Looks like he's coming around turn 14 potentially, up to the uphill, and yes, so he will get this lap complete. A big opportunity for Nickham to move up the running order here in qualifying. 27th out of 29 cars that have taken a time, 31 that have showed up. Nickham, does he go any faster? The answer is yes, but only by one position, up to 26. Todd Alea, the final car on track that I see, and it looks like he has gotten a lot of off tracks in this session, JP, because as we are well past regulation and qualifying, he still has no lap time, and he's in turn 1.
No, that is really unfortunate, but that's one of the natures of this racetrack, Andrew. Sometimes you're pushing a bit too much, and you're fortunately going to get that off track. And, you know, this being such a long racetrack, we saw 1 minute 59 for the leader with a 10-minute qualifying session. I mean, your runs are limited if you keep making mistakes.
So that will just about, but not officially yet, do it for qualifying. Of course, there is still a minute on the clock. And technically, Alea can continue this attempt, but I really don't see how he's going to get back to the start-finish line in time. Yeah, less than a minute now, well past regulation. This is the extended time as well. We're not just waiting on the timer to go down and give these guys the extended time to finish their laps. No, this is that extension, and Alea is just not going to make it back to the start-finish line. So, unfortunate for him in his debut start for the Simpit Road Racing Series. Andrew White also mired back. They will start 30th and 31st. I'm not sure which order they'll be in. Likely Alea in the 30th spot and White in the 31st spot. Andrew White made no attempts, it looks like, at qualifying laps here in this session. Everybody else, though, turning lap times as we've got 31 cars here today. Let's talk about the weather, JP, because nothing's going to change as far as the running order. 74 degrees in the air, 78 degrees on the track. It is a nice and plain day in a good way here at Road America.
Yeah, winds are also a bit calm, 7 miles per hour, not that crazy. But yeah, track temperature looks good, air temperature looks good, not a lot of clouds, Andrew. We should be in for a very, very nice race today.
Yeah, the wind's a little bit high there, and actually, wow, things just changed a lot from the qualifying session into the race session. Look at that track temp, up to 99.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Suddenly, we're roasting as we've gone a little bit later in the day. And look at that, it's just reset, 78 degrees. We don't know what iRacing wants to do, but it looks like 78 degrees is going to be the number we roll with. So yeah, setting it back where it should be. That for a moment, these drivers are going to have a big curveball headed their way, but thankfully, the track does not look like those hot coals for that Johnsonville ad there in turn number 9. But anyways, we've got a grid to go ahead and talk about. Let's meet our starting grid for round number 2 of this season. On pole, Sam Holt in car number 18, and what a qualifying run he was able to put together. That is one heck of a run. As genuinely, he was down in the 159s. You don't see many GT cars do that. So for Sam Holt to do so and be the fastest of the bunch, genuinely a solid lap time there. Jan Christensen will start from the second place. Third best driver last week, trying to be the best driver today. Starting third place, though, you're going to find car 84, Randall White, who battled for that win with Terry Crouch, Joao Antonio from the 4th position today. Starting 5th, Moses Choi in car 188. Chris Generelli starts from the 6th position. Starting 7th at Stan Dunnett, Terry Crouch, last week's winner, will start from the 8th position. And to round out your top 10, Wolfgang Rauch and Amir Assad.
Starting off in 11th place, we're going to have James Dowling. Alongside him in 12th place, Sean Cole in the number 39 car. In row number 7, we're going to have Sam Hinch in the number 93 and Dan Clark in the number 114. If I'm not mistaken, Andrew, that it is our amateur pole in 14th place for the number 114. In row number 8, we're going to have Ola Sarnkist in 13th place and the number 88 of Dustin Oberlaw in 16th place. 17th place on the inside, we're going to have Clint Fletcher in the 004 and the number 46 of David Saratoni in 18th place. Finally, row number 10, we're going to have Ed Centinelli in the number 57 and the 710 of Johnny Alford in 20th place.
Starting 21st, you'll find Brandon Waters in car 48. Kenny Stepp starts from 22nd. Wouter Van Mariek, we saw him a little bit in that qualifying session, rolls off 23rd. Then Aleshman there in 24th. C. Schultheis there from 25th position, Mike Nickham from 26th, then Christian Clark, Nicholas Batista, and William Martinez, the final drivers that turned a qualifying time here today. Todd Aleo will start from 30th, and from 31st, shotgun on the field, it is car 4, Andrew White. So, you can see 31 cars getting ready to go racing here at JP. What are your expectations for this one? 60 minutes. Nothing's really changed really at all with the race structure. 60 minutes, 75% I believe fuel, or 60% is one of those two numbers. I can never recall. 75% fuel. So yeah, we will need that pit stop, of course. It is a pretty straight up race.
Yeah, this is going to be one of those races, Andrew, that some drivers will have to essentially balance, that approach of aggressiveness with fuel saving. We've seen this plenty of time again on this race course. Well, if you're too aggressive, you're going to burn too much fuel in. Well, after the pit stops, you're going to be losing all that time that you made up. But obviously, if you're too cautious, the grid might spread out and you might not have that advantage of saving fuel. So it's going to be interesting for a few drivers that are starting on the mid-pack to balance and trying to get themselves back in the front. And obviously interesting for those leaders, Andrew. What will the leader do? Will he concede a P1 at the end of the straightaway? Will he keep battling for track position? I mean, it's a straightforward race, but it's still very exciting to be up here commentating.
And how about the conversation of car choice as well for this series? A lot of Porsches. There are definitely a lot of Porsche 911s in this league. A few Corvettes out there, a few Ferraris, but a lot of Porsches. You can see some of those Simpit Ferraris towards the front of the field, by the way, Jan Christensen and Terry Crouch, they are astounding. They've found speed, they are using it well, and they are going to be drivers that you have to watch out for all season. And you also got to look out for some of the BMWs for the back in the field. The one that stands out to me is Ola Sarnquist here in car 13. He's starting from 15th today, so one of those drivers I think that you definitely want to watch for in a BMW and in one of the oddly underused manufacturers in this series. So we'll see if maybe that changes at all. I'm not sure if drivers are allowed to take a penalty to change cars, but the idea is that they should be locked into their car choice for the season.
Yeah, that's going to be very interesting. Obviously, as you mentioned, a sea of Porsches, the odd Ferrari in the top 10, the odd two Ferraris in the top 10, they look incredible on that pace, and I mean, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, these long straightaways kind of will, negate. They're going to pretty much equal the performance of the car. So it's going to be interesting how each manufacturer plays out tonight.
Let's take a look at some onboards here today. This is on board with Ed Sanchinelli in a BMW. We've got the onboard on top of the roof. Let's go to Sam Hinchy's car, though, with the kind of in-car. This is right about center, maybe a little bit to the right of the driver. Well, it is to the right of the driver, maybe a little bit to the right of center. You can see the wheel there on the left side. A great view as to what's going on board here with Sam Hinchy. How about James Dowling? A look here, looking back from the left side of the car at Dan Clara there, your amateur pole sitter. A little deeper in the field, Christian Clark has our gyro on board currently in his Chevrolet Corvette. And Wouter Van Mariek, all these drivers have these on boards, but Wouter Van Mariek here from Benelux, a beautiful look from the right front dash on that Porsche. And how about some more? This is from the right side of Jan Christensen from the second spot. How about the nose camera from Terry Crouch and the gearbox for our pole sitter, Sam Holt, as we get ready to turn everybody loose here at Road America. Let's pod the music down. Let's change the red to green on the flag, and we are going racing at Road America. Green flag in round 2. Oh, one car in the grass. I think that's Sean Cole, and it is. What a rough start for the owner of Simpit. Out into the gravel quickly. Big problems for car 39. He is 31st, dead last.
A bad start for him, unfortunate start for him, Andrew. You know, such an important race, and he's going to have to claw all the way back. It's going to be difficult, but certainly not impossible. As you can see now, the rest of the field coming down into the second straightaway, down into the another big braking zone. Are we going to see moves being made? And we can see already nearly 3 wide for 340 right there in contact.
Amir Assad, and this is a big issue further back in the field. Amir Assad gets turned around. A lot of cars spinning. Oh my goodness. I think that's a Leshman potentially in the middle of all that. Big issues in turn number 5 on lap 1. We had avoided issue at Spa and Coda just for this to happen in turn 5, lap 1.
Really unfortunate, and just battling for, I guess, being too aggressive too early on, and unfortunately that has caught up quite a few drivers. And you can see right here now down into the carousel, the rest of them making their way through, and you can see already a big separation, a few cars with damage, but it's, well, the midpoint of lap number 1.
Love these statics, just watching the field try and get around this place. And of course, the ever treacherous kink here at Road America. And a couple of cars overstepping the bounds. Hopefully no issues there. Oh my goodness. That is a treacherous piece of racetrack.
Yeah, it is. It's really easy to go wide and obviously lose the car. But, well, whoever that was did an amazing job, you know, just pretty much saving it and keeping it pointing at the right way and recovering it. But, yeah, Andrew, looks like the front of the field, I should say, are making their way through the final corner and actually making their way through the start-finish flag to finish lap number 1. And you can see right here, they're pretty much the top 5 are pretty much nose to tail, and we have a bit of separation, but I feel like this is where we're going to see throughout the race.
A good look from the flag stand here as the entire field sweeps underneath. Once the field goes on by to complete this first lap, we'll get a look as to what happened to Amir Assad there. And the trouble continues, certainly for car 36. It's been a rough start to the season for Amir. I really hope he can get things turned around next week at Watkins Glen. Some cars coming down the pit lane. Kenny Stepp is one of them, and that is very much expected. Maybe not specifically for Kenny Stepp, but for drivers in this field, certainly. And Christian Clark, one of the Corvettes out deep, and that looks more like an El Camino at this point. Honestly, Chevy do it. That looks kind of good.
That certainly does look like an El Camino. That was huge damage to his back end, and I've never seen a Corvette actually getting that damaged. But as you mentioned, Andrew, a few drivers coming down into the pit lane to get some repairs after the contact they had on lap number 1, which is really unfortunate. And you can see even a few of them leaving with damage, just getting the optionals fixed probably in the requireds. And, well, now we're going to take a look at the replay to see exactly what happened to a few of them.
Right there, the 34 just stuck his nose onto the left rear of Amir Assad, and he's got a view as to everything that happens as a result of this. Alesh Mom getting turned around, the 47 there of Nicholas Batista. I mean, just carnage in the 5th corner.
Carnage, I think, is the perfect word, Andrew, and you can see right there, a few cars lost by themselves, and obviously a few of them were helped by contact, which is really unfortunate, especially down on lap number 1, which is not what you want to see. But Well, unfortunately, it happened, and you can see right here, down into more action. Looks like we're gonna have down into turn number 4. And no, actually, this is the replay. Sorry, and you can see right here, James Dowling, unfortunately, breaking a bit tiny later, Andrew, and that was enough to make contact.
Yeah, that was James Dowling turning Amir Assad that really kicked off the entire festivity there, if you will, in turn 5. Really rough stuff for a lot of those guys who got caught up in things. Let's go on board this time with Alesh Mom. And this is going to be an interesting look as to what goes on here in turn 5. And, you know, for Alesh back here, mid part of the field, it's a very calm run down to turn number 5 until you get to the corner and everything just stacks up. And there's really nowhere to go when the field stacks up like this and this much happens. As Wood of Emmerich, he found one place to go. And, oh, Alesh just spins around on his own, too. That makes it even worse.
Yeah, I think he was just trying to focus where he could go, and unfortunately, you know, at that point it was clear, but unfortunately his car just thought otherwise, and unfortunately he lost the car by himself. And yeah, as you mentioned, that makes it kind of a bit worse when you lose by yourself and you're not helped at all. But yeah, unfortunate start of the race for those drivers.
Sam Holt cleared by 1 second over Jan Christensen. We are on to lap number 3 of an expected 30, and that could drop down to 29, but that number shouldn't change too much even with the pit stop here today. Some battles throughout the field. Andrew White and Mike Nickham. There's Nickham losing a spot. You can see all the damage to his Chevrolet Corvette. He was involved in that incident on lap number 1 through turn 5. No nose, no boot cover, if you will. I'll call that a boot considering the engine's in the back. I'll give it to you this time, but big problems there for Nickham. Thankfully, just trying to hang on and keep this race going for him. Your amateur leader currently, well, is no longer a pole sitter, Dan Clark. Problems for the 114. That's tough.
That's really tough. That's really unfortunate. Almost getting contact as well. Looks like this is on the carousel, and he's going to be losing a few positions, Andrew. Really, really unfortunate scenes right here. Oh. Looks like this track is catching a few drivers in. That, didn't sound...
Well, Terry Crouch just made a pass for 5th. It was on Chris Generelli here in Canada Corner, it looks like. So move Crouch up 1 marker. But your amateur leader out of all of this has become Ed Sancinelli, that Frito Esport 57 car that we took one of the onboards with coming to the green flag. Frito Sport. My apologies there for car 57. So 14th spot for him. Pretty decent position to be in following Olas Sarnquist up the hill. So 2 BMWs sticking together. How about that?
Really good to see. Obviously not the most common car on this series, but it's good to see them both going head to head, which shows, Andrew, that the drivers in these cars have really similar pace. Obviously running pretty much identical cars. Obviously the setups are going to differ, but the pace, you can see it's very similar between these two. And it's going to be interesting to see which one comes out ahead.
And additionally, they are in different classes, so it's interesting to me that they find themselves in this kind of position at this point in time. Andrew White just made a pass for 23rd, and he goes off track, and he goes back into 24th spot as William Martinez goes right on by. And Christian Arelli losing another position, this time to Moses Choi. So lots going on here at Road America as we try and settle in. It's going to be tough to do so. There's even battles here. Brandon Waters down to the inside of Johnny Alford, and that was a big pass. 2 Corvettes battling.
And you can see the BMW on the inside might get that position. Andrew, now you're going to go side by side. No, not quite, but you can see just right there how defending one position can actually cost you 2 or more. And as you mentioned, drivers are settling in. Now we're going to see drivers being comfortable in making moves. And you can see right here the Porsche. Will he go down the inside of the Corvette? Yes, he will. Can he get the car all stopped? Yes, he can. Side by side, they both go. But looks like that was a move. Very well done indeed.
Todd Alea making that pass. That is for 17th over Johnny Alford. So, beautiful stuff there. Sean Cole, by the way, we saw that he went off in turn 1, lap 1, and that might have been a blessing in disguise considering he was able to avoid everything that he was around into turn 5 that lap. But Sean is starting to recover. 21st position, lap number 4. He's starting to bring this race back to him as he works on Dan Clark for the 20th spot. And honestly, if Sean can rebound to finish in the top half, I think that's about, maybe not considered a win, but darn close.
Yeah, it will certainly be a fantastic recovery drive, Andrew. We know how difficult it is to essentially claw back time once the cars are on that slipstream range. And you can see right here, Sean clearly has the pace, just taking his time to make sure the move is very well executed and perfectly timed. And you can see right here down into the straightaway, I should say up and down, I guess, a little bit. He's going to get the benefit of that slipstream and hopefully get this move done on the first corner. But yeah, if he can get himself on the top half of the field, I say this is a job very well done.
You see Sean putting on pressure into turn 1. Dan Clark, the defending driver, and no pass made there. But this is one of the best battles actually on the racetrack. There is James Dowling and Chris Fletcher, I think, starting to heat up. And how about Santinelli and Sarnquist? They just swapped spots. This is down to turn 5. Santinelli using the draft into turn 5, making that pass. Props to the amateur driver, passing a pro straight up.
Absolutely no fear, no hesitation. Just had the pace, went for the move, and got the move done. A very good job indeed.
You can see how this battle has worked out for Dan Clark and Sean Cole. It's about, well, fizzled out for now, so we'll let them do their thing as Brandon Waters actually loses a position to Todd Alea, and Moses Choi is headed the wrong direction. Here's Wolfgang Rausch around the outside. This is a great battle side by side, and for a moment there, for a little while, a couple of laps, Moses was looking good. Yeah, Moses. I'm getting those names confused already, but Moses Choi was looking really, really good those first couple of laps, holding his own almost in the top 5, and now starting to fall back a little bit. Next car to catch him would be Sam Hinchy. That would be for 9th position, as actually that wasn't even Wolfgang that passed him. That was Stand On It.
So yeah, unfortunately, as you mentioned, Choi losing a few positions, and it looks like the early pace and qualifying is not really translating well into the race. And you can see right here, falling a bit under pressure once again, as we are going to have another move almost around the outside of Canada corner. That BMW got a bit squeezed as we have one car. Andrew White looks like he's taking an excursion. Looks like a bit of damage to the front splitter, Andrew. So I wonder if there was contact with another car or possibly the wall.
And the car passing him there, Amir Assad, we've talked much about his misfortune in these first 2 races, we can say. Of course, a lot happened to him at Kodo 1 week ago, and it hasn't really turned around for him here at Road America. So hopefully something changes next week at Watkins Glen. It's been a rough start to the season, and we could just about put that one to bed for him. I don't think he wants to think about it too much, but yeah, rough times for him for sure. Sean Cole, maybe an opportunity there to turn 1. No, not quite, but I gotta say, no matter what's fast, the Porsche is one of the better looking cars in this category. Not to say that any of the cars in this category don't look particularly good, but the way that these cars attack the corners, man, they really do look like they are in place.
Yeah, absolutely. I just say it looks probably second best to the Ford, Andrew. I just love the look of the Ford, and I don't think we have a single Ford on this grid. You can correct me on that one, but I don't think we do, which is really unfortunate. But I feel like that's the best looking GT so far, which is really unfortunate that we don't have one. But the Porsche absolutely looks in its place, especially when it's challenging such a sexy Ferrari ahead as well.
You know, I would have to put the Ferrari and the BMW somewhere at the bottom of the field. I would have to elevate the Chevrolet a little bit. I would maybe say the Chevrolet is the best looking car, the Corvette, best looking car in GTE on iRacing. The Porsche and Ford could just about tie for second, and I think the Ferrari and BMW can about tie for third and fourth, if you will. That's just the way I kind of look at it, but it really depends on the paint, and I think a lot of these drivers have brought the paint game. We talk about that in every league we cover, really, of drivers bringing some of the best paint schemes we see in some of these race cars to the racetrack each and every week, and well, we do see some really good ones in this Simpit Road Racing Series. So drivers, give yourselves a pat on the back, even if you get swept up in the lap 1 crash and melee. You guys have some pretty darn good looking paint schemes out there as we just watch the field go on by. It's early in this race, not even 15 minutes in, and you can see one car in the pit lane stop. That's Andrew White. But the rest of these guys doing some battles, maybe split up a little ways. Nothing too crazy going on. We do have one car off in turn 1, and that is Wolfgang Rausch.
I just saw that 71 just, dropping off the timing sheets, and unfortunately it looks like he's going to be dropping into 15, 16, avoiding the wall, and he's going to be dropping even more. And just so that's just how quickly the race can change, and you can see right here how many cars he got passed by. And now this is all the cars he's going to have to try to overtake. Luckily for him, as you mentioned, not even 15 minutes into the race, he still has plenty of time to get these places back.
Yeah, but Wolfgang was just racing, 7th position, I believe it was? I mean, this is big. He was just 7th, I think. Yeah, 7th position ahead of Stand On It, and he is now 19th. "12 positions lost for Wolfgang. This is how it happens on a turn 1. You can see Stand On It, the rest of the field in the background, and just deep into the first corner, and the rear end comes around.
And you can see, even though the Porsche looks sexy, I think that's one of the difficult things about the Porsche engine. Sometimes you can overdrive this car, and I don't think there was saving at any point as soon as the car got lost. Luckily for him, he took his time getting back on the racing course, which is really good to see. And unfortunately, as you mentioned, 12 positions lost, but he still has time to claw them all back.
Here's a good-looking pro battle starting to form up. Todd Alea putting pressure on Ola Sarnquist. This is for 13th position. Todd with the advantage in the Porsche. Well, I say the advantage. The offensive advantage was moving to the inside a little bit, but no move there in Canada corner. And of course, Ed Sancinelli recently passed Sarnquist in that BMW, so it's interesting to me now that Sancinelli is staying ahead of the pro driver of Ola, and now Todd Alea is starting to catch these guys and is doing battle.
And you can see he's not only catching, I feel like he might make a move on this first BMW engine. You can see right here, using that slipstream, using that big boy BMW slipstream to get alongside, and using now a bit of that side draft as well. He's going to have the inside line through turn 1. He needs to be careful not to overdrive in turn 1 and do the same mistake we just saw.
Whoa.
And he closes the door in the last minute, but they avoid contact. That was a beautiful, brave move, but right on the edge.
That was close in turn 1. Thankfully, no contact. As you heard my reaction, I don't know what that sounded like, but it was something. As how about this battle? Dan Clark, Sean Cole, they've recently swapped positions. And you can see the line up ahead of them. Brandon Waters, Dustin Oberlo, Wolfgang Rausch. I can see the Oberlo fan group is in attendance here today, checking in over on YouTube. Dustin is in the 17th position in car 88. Ahead of Brandon Waters, Wolfgang Rausch, and several others, as David Sarator, it looks like, he has come to a stop. Oh dear, that was at turn 1, it looked like.
Yeah, and I cannot see too much visual damage. It looks like we just had a move down into turn 4, if I'm not mistaken. We just saw Corvette going a bit wide.
Yeah, that was a Monaco moment, I'll be honest.
But certainly it's... I didn't see a lot of damage on that Corvette engine that was just stopping on the pit lane, so I wonder if it was hardware failure, possibly, or something else. But anyway, it looks like we had a move happen down into turn 5, I should say, not turn 4. And
yeah,
looks like the move was done.
So Brandon Waters lost that position of 18th to Wolfgang Rausch and is now right in front of Sean Cole. This is going to be a good battle, I think, with a pro on an AM. Cole now into the top 20 in that Porsche. And there goes Waters, letting him have that position into the kink. And that is a big-time heads-up move. As, Ed Sancinelli, a pass here by Todd Alea up the inside in Canada corner. Alea had a rough qualifying effort, started 30th, but is starting to redeem himself.
Absolutely. He's not wasting any time, is he, Andrew? He's just going for the moves. You know, he's just finding time, finding places, and he's absolutely not afraid at all to go for those moves, which is really good to see. And you can see right here the gap he already has to those drivers.
Lots going on here. It's going to be tough to keep up with everything happening in this field. I think this is one of the better fields we've seen in road racing in our time, as far as having action deep throughout and not having too many incidents early in the race. Oftentimes you'll see big lap 1 incidents, and yes, we saw one today in turn 5, but the rest of the field kept on going for the most part. And to have a 31 car field, still 29 strong on lap 9 of 30 at Road America, that is definitely a big positive. So drivers here in the Simpit Road Racing Series, again, a reason to pat yourselves on the back. Clint Fletcher is catching James Dowling. This is through turn 5. And that is one unique paint scheme for Fletcher in the 004 car. I'm still not sure what's going on it. And it looks like Disney Princesses. Wonder if he's got a daughter.
Yeah, that's a good one. But I'm seeing Andrew right on that Jack Daniels. This is quite two different paint schemes, right? A Barbie and a Jack Daniels following each other. Quite the opposites on the rating for age. But you can see right a bit of damage to that Jack Daniels Porsche, which is unfortunate to see. But it looks like that bright pink and blue rim Porsche might be able to catch him on the next few laps.
This is the battle for 10th. James Dowling in that yellow Porsche ahead. Clint Fletcher in the bright pink Porsche behind. And we might see Fletcher move into the top 10 here shortly. They are chasing Sam Hinchey, and they are not far behind, by the way. So this could be a 3 or 4 car battle as Stan Donnett's not far up the road. We're watching a lot going on here at the back end of the top 10. Let's take a look at Stan Donnet and Sam Hinchey. They work through turn 14, actually. There's Stan Donnet. Bright neon yellow or green and black Porsche. Sam Hinchey just behind, and then James Dowling and Clint Fletcher. So 4 cars really in a row that may come together and have one battle. I'm impressed. I'm genuinely impressed, JP. We often see good racing at Road America, but we have more battles here today than I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, this track invites great racing, but tonight has been something special. As you can see right here, side by side on the front straightaway, down into turn number 1. This racing has been fantastic, Andrew. Obviously, we had good hints at Spa, in the preseason. Obviously, I had first-hand experience, but tonight has been, absolutely fantastic. Clean racing, obviously a few mistakes here and there, but so far, I mean, this has been one of the best Road America races we had so far, and I hope we didn't just jinx it.
This is one of those days where, I have to get feedback from drivers and teams of, oh man, you missed this battle back here for 13th, you missed this battle for 16th or 21st, or even sometimes 7th or 8th, and I mean, there's just so many battles throughout this field. We're going to miss some today, and, we haven't really talked about our leaders at all yet. This is on board, by the way, with Dustin Oberlo in the 19th position. He just lost a spot to Sean Cole, but I think no worries for Dustin. He's an AM, and Sean is a pro, so really no concern there at all. I think Dustin can absolutely sit tight where he is. He's ahead of Dan and Clark by 2 seconds, and his next competition is well up the road in Schultz Ice, and that puts Oberlo, I think, in 3rd. So Amy and Charles, you guys that are rooting for him, I think you have reason to be happy right now with his run today at Road America. Just a nice, quiet day, and I think that's going to be a big points gain for Car 88. But as far as the battle situation, JP, we've got battles everywhere. We haven't really mentioned our leader in, 5 laps at least, and 5 laps is a long time here at Road America. We haven't really visited our top 10 very much today. We've been down around the 15th, 20th, 25th position at times, and we're just going to miss some stuff. That's just the way it goes sometimes. Go to really racy racetracks. In fact, the last 2 days, I was on location with Pit Road TV at Ace Speedway in Altamaha, North Carolina, and then Orange County Speedway in Rougemont, North Carolina. And those are 2 of the raciest racetracks you have for late models, and we had the same thing. You had battles throughout the entire field of 20 cars or more. It's just, it's exciting. It's good. It's a good problem to have, as we're on board with Joao Antonio. He is chasing Terry Crouch and was just within a second of him and has since dropped an extra second back. So problems maybe for car 31?
Could be a bit of tire wear maybe. Obviously, early on, it shouldn't really be a factor, but, depending on how aggressive the setup is, could certainly be. But yeah, Andrew, the top 10, I guess you can say, even top 5, they're quite settled down into their own positions. They're just running their pace, probably hitting the fuel marks. Obviously, when you go a bit down, you have drivers there obviously want to get those track positions that are eager to race a bit more, and that's normally where we get a bit more of the racing. But as mentioned, if you follow the timing sheets, you're going to see drivers within a second that we haven't covered. And yeah, it's just crazy to see how well this racing has been. And unfortunately, you can see it right here, the 56 of Nickham. Could he be waiting, Andrew? Because we saw this car running around with no nose cone, I guess you can say, no front end. Could he be waiting for that pit window to open?
That is a good question. Well, he's up on jacks now, so he's gotten fuel. He's getting tires at this point, and will be released from the pit lane just about any time. And that might have been a scheduled stop because not much has changed on that car. I don't think he's had a new issue. He's not, laps off of the pace. Very intriguing there for Mike Nickham, but he comes in, will get some service, and head back out onto the track in his number 56. And there he goes, 1 lap down as Sam Holt goes on by. And, well, that was just interesting timing as our leader walks back into frame in this opening portion of the broadcast, brought to you by Gomez Sim Industries. Car 18 leading the way. In case you've joined us recently here for the Simpit Road Racing Series, round number 2 at Road America, Sam Holt started the day from pole, has not looked back since. 11 laps out of 11 laps run have been led by car 18. He's got a 4.4 second advantage over this guy, Jan Christensen, who is 3rd best last week at Circuit of the Americas. A fantastic driver in his own right, just being overshadowed right now. Last week it was Terry Crouch and Randall White. Today, it's Sam Holt. In the 3rd spot, though, you'll find Randall White in one of the Porsches in car 84. He's always good, it looks like, along with Terry Crouch in the 4th position. So the cream is rising to the top at this point, JP. We are seeing drivers that we expect up at the front now getting to the front.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing, as you mentioned, those drivers that have a bit more pace that unfortunately qualifying may have not gone their way, just rising to the top slowly but surely as the race goes on. And you can see that pace, just tenths of a second per lap start to get closer and closer. And you can see right here, Terry Crouch obviously won last week's race. And tonight, well, he's chasing down third place, Brandon White just ahead, who finished second place. So this is sort of the reverse battle that we had in Coda, isn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting how things work out. As you say, we've got kind of a reverse situation with one new driver interjected into this battle with Sam Holt up at the front of the field. But Christensen, White, and Crouch are all in reverse order of where we saw them last week at Coda, and minus one position each as well. So kind of interesting how things just happen to, happen, I suppose, in racing. They'll lap Mike Nickham and complete another one. That is 12 laps complete for our race leaders. Oh, I saw Terry processing that, thinking maybe can I lunge to the inside, but just definitely not close enough for turn one there.
But you can see how quickly he closed up, Andrew. As he exited Canada corner, he wasn't that near, and you can see right here down into turn 3 how close he is. He's essentially pushing Randall White on the corners, and I feel like the move will be done down here at turn number 5. I should expect a lunge, but will Randall White defend this position? He's going to be holding the race line. He's not going to be defending, and Terry Crouch is going to have a clear spot at down the inside, and you can see there the number 84 doesn't fight too hard. Can Terry slow that Ferrari down? Yes, he can, and that's him up, Andrew, to third place. Now he's going to be chasing his teammate, the number 35, but, well, looks like that gap is going to be around 2.5 seconds almost.
Meanwhile, Ed Sanchinelli, one of the top drivers in AM, has come into the pit lane, and kind of early, I would think, for some of the top drivers to pit. Usually you see the earlier pit stops come from drivers that are trying to make something happen from behind, but Ed Sanchinelli comes in early. This is lap 13 of 30. Gets fuel, heads back out, 16.75 seconds. That looks like a fuel stop only.
So could be a very early undercut. Could work out well for him, Andrew. Could not. We're just going to have to wait and see, unfortunately. And due to the nature of this track, obviously, if you lose a bit of that slipstream, it could be essentially game over in a few laps time. But the number 57 right now doesn't have to wait.
Dan Clark.
Number 7.
Dan Clark with issues. Christian Arelli as well. Oh, and Christian Arelli was in the top 10. Big issues for two separate drivers. And Gennarelli, well, let's get a look at it here. Gennarelli, I thought, had maybe lagged out for a second, and it looks like maybe that is not the case. So we'll see what happened to car 7. He was still up towards the front.
So I saw
maybe in the kink.
Yeah, I just saw something in my eye. That car just dropping out of the order. What happened right here? Yeah, and it could be in the kink. That could be the next troublesome moment on this racetrack.
Oh, yes. No. Wow. Sure enough, right there in the kink. Problems for Gennarelli. Let's get one more look at it, this time from the onboard, as he does spins there like a ballerina in the kink. And that is not what you want to be doing in a race car, by the way. Dancing and racing don't usually go together, but this is the onboard for Gennarelli.
Oh, and you can see right here, he just went a bit wide. He couldn't really hit the apex on the inside at that moment. He's just a passenger. And, big hit to the wall. And I think that's race over for him, Andrew.
It is. The nose just never really set for him. That's the tough part. It just never really looked like it wanted to turn. Now, this is the issue for Dan Clark that we saw briefly. He was racing with Brandon Waters and Dustin Oberlo. And, oh my, just gets the grass into 7 and big contact there from Waters.
Really unfortunate double hit for him. As soon as it looked like he was going to correct the car, he got hit again, which just really, really unfortunate. Just an easy mistake to do, Andrew, once you're pushing to the limit.
This is the onboard from Waters' perspective, and it's going to be a lot of damage for Waters as well that he's going to have to try and fix under his pit stop. Clips the grass, and Waters tries to get by, but unfortunately picks up a lot of left side damage for at least a big impact. The damage, the left front is definitely not where it should be. And Oberlo looks like maybe even drifted through turn 8. So a lot just went on very quickly.
Yeah, and I've spent a few seconds. We had almost 3 different incidents. So, yeah, just how quickly things can change under racing conditions, Andrew. And now back to racing condition. You can see this battle right here is still very much alive.
This is a little bit different now, actually. James Dowling is driven away from Clint Fletcher, but Fletcher now is working on Sam Hinchy. So interesting. 8th, 9th, and 10th, 3 Porsches, and they are going after it. And you know what? Hinchy has only recently dropped into 9th, so Dowling made the pass on Hinchy that lap. Now you see an update there on Clint Fletcher's graphic. Fletcher, oh boy, that was almost contact into turn 1.
They almost made contact on the final corner as well, and I was just looking. They're really racing for it. This is really going for it. It looks like Fletcher does not want to waste any more time behind Hinchy. He wants to get by, and he wants to chase Dowling ahead.
That was nearly catastrophic for these 2 Porsches in turn 1. That is why driver coaches will tell you never move into a braking zone, even if you're the driver trying to pass. It gets sketchy, especially when you don't have ABS to catch you. That was... Yeah, that was interesting in turn 1, but they get through it and continue their battle as Todd Alea now will start to move in. So now we're looking at 8th through 11th, all in one kind of line, if you will, as they head down to turn number 8. Amir Assad, by the way, just worked on by Brandon Waters, so that pro driver starting to work back into a decent position. And I think his issue, JP, for Amir Assad happened early enough that he can still recover into a decent position. Is it going to be top 10? Probably not, but top 15 is still not a bad day, all things considered.
Yeah, I think that's what we call damage limitation, isn't it? He didn't give up on the first lap, after that mistake, after the contact, the instance, and he just persevered. Now he's currently in 17th place, so yeah, obviously not top 10, not likely, but still possible. But any points that he can grab, Andrew, is going to be better than no points at all if he DNF'd.
Amir Assad recently taking the 17th position away from Brandon Waters, so continuing his move up. Wolfgang Rausch now maybe looking at Ola Sarnquist for a position. And Ola definitely has worked on by the 71 at some point, but Wolfgang may be able to get back up there as, Todd Alea slow. No, that wasn't Todd Alea. Who was that? That was a different, I guess it was a lapped car potentially. And yes, that was Andrew White in the 4 car. And Andrew started 31st today, is 2 laps down now as well. Wolfgang has made a pass, actually, just like that, on Ola Sarnquist down the front stretch. So, yes, he had what it took to make that pass.
Just a quick move. You can see right there, he was able to move down into the racing line again and get that position done and dusted. So, yeah, just how quickly, as you mentioned, and just how quickly it can get done. Meanwhile, is this... who is this battle? This is Sam Hinchy. Looks like he's chasing. He dropped out of the top 10, didn't he?
Yes, Alea went right on by, so this is for 10th position. And I think that pass happened in turn 3. So, again, we're continuing this theme of just not being able to keep up with these battles. There's a lot happening as maybe a problem for Dan Clark in the 20th position. He's headed onto the pit lane. That would make sense, actually, given what we saw for him. A much-needed pit service for car 114.
Yeah, and you can see right there the damage, Andrew, on that rear end. It doesn't look as bad as... Well, I think it looked from our point of view once we saw the replay, but it certainly has to be handling not perfectly from his point of view. So I should expect him to take at least
This is not pit service. This is a pass-through.
Wow. This early?
Yeah, that's something I wasn't sure if we were going to see or not, but of course the pass-through penalty is rearing its head already here at Road America. Of course, these drivers get a penalty at 12 incidents, again at 22 incidents, and a disqualification at 25. And if you're new to iRacing, potentially, maybe a family member out there watching, and you don't know what we mean by incidents, well, it's not a number of incidents on track like you might usually consider in real racing, but essentially, any kind of car contact, wall contact, off track, anything like that is weighted in iRacing by a number of incident points. And they're labeled as X's, so a lot of people call them X's as well, so you might have heard that maybe from one of your sim racers in the family potentially as Wolfgang Rausch heads down the pit lane. But basically, an off-track is 1X, a car contact can be 0, 2, or 4X, a wall contact can be 0 or 2X, and really I think that might be about it. I think that's about it for these guys. But you have different values for what you might do wrong at any given point on the racetrack. Again, off tracks, wall contacts, car contacts, things like that. And they're weighted to give you incident points based on how severe it might be. As Mike Nickham's off track there, as we take a look at Todd Alea making a pass. But those all stack up against the driver. They accumulate over the course of a race. And if you get to 12, say 3 car contacts that equate to 4x each, or 12 off tracks on their own. 12 incidents is a pass-through penalty. These drivers must serve that pass-through, then head back out onto the racetrack. And, Alea off track. There's a 1x. But it's also worth mentioning these drivers cannot combine that penalty, that drive-through penalty, with pit service, or they must be held in the pit lane for 40 extra seconds, and that is to negate any advantage they could gain by serving the penalty at the same time as pitting, because it would eliminate 1 extra trip down the pit lane. So, bit of a crash course kind of on what these drivers have to do and what happens to them if they don't do it, because it is very easy to accumulate those incident points over the course of a race and push yourself over the limit. Again, a drive-through penalty at 12, again at 22, and a disqualification at 25. And speaking of 25, JP, we are down to 25 minutes to go. We're past halfway, which means this portion of the broadcast is brought to you by Get Closer Racing, Accelerate Esports.
And with 25 minutes elapsed, Andrew, at this point, drivers are going to be thinking about, when to pit. How are we going to tackle the pit stops? Are we going to underfuel the car to try and get the track position? Probably overfuel a little bit just to be able to push till the end of the race. And this is the questions that are going to be on their mind. And meanwhile, you can see right here, Terry could probably be playing a bit of a team game with his teammate, Andrew, the number 35, just ahead, just to try and save a bit more fuel in a last-ditch attempt possibly to catch Sam Holt on the pit lane.
Yeah, the race win is not written off for either of these drivers. Really, I think anybody in the top 5, all within 11 seconds of each other. There's a big gap, though, from 5th to 6th, Antonio to Choi. 10 seconds between those two drivers, nearly 11. But I think if you're in the top 5, you still have a chance to win this race. It's a matter of execution from here to the end, and certainly execution on the pit lane as we lap Wouter van der Merriek on the inside into the kink. This is one heck of an onboard, though, with Terry Crouch trying to chase down his teammate Jan Christensen. And I'm intrigued to see whether or not these two drivers work together, or if they battle tooth and nail, or what they do, what strategy they employ to try and win this race.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point, because obviously we do know from some other leagues that some teammates, just allow themselves to fight like, any other driver. Some others like to play that team game, Andrew, trying to help each other on that big goal. And you can see right here, well, we're going to have our answer. It looks like no fighting for it. Yen is diving to the pit lane, possibly for an undercut, allowing Terry to essentially push free and trying to close that gap to Holt ahead.
So pit service on the way for Jan Christensen in car 35. And this should be a no-tire, full tank of fuel stop for car 35, and that's it. We haven't seen many off tracks, so thankfully for him, not a pass-through. Sean Cole has got more problems. Oh boy, where has he found himself? I'm not sure where this is on the racetrack, but that is out there. And oh, and Amir Assad!
Oh, that's kind of the corner.
Timing! Sean Cole gets back going, and yes, that was Canada corner. Great look out there. Clint Fletcher's now pitting. My goodness.
What just happened?
And Dan Clark at turn 5. What is going on? You can't use the full moon excuse because it's the middle of the day. And eventually here, Clark will get back going. Yes, finally gets his way back onto the racetrack. What is going on here at Road America? Let's go back first to see what happened to Sean Cole. And wow, this was a while back. Into Canada corner, you'll see it happen here. On board with him.
Like all by himself, Andrew.
Yes, definitely all on his lonesome. Into Canada corner, just missed the breaking point in deep, and wow, he got lucky that he didn't hit that tire barrier sooner and make that worse. And then Amir Assad comes flying in. What happens to him?
Also by himself. So if it was real life, I think
the
it would be
exact same thing.
Yeah, just loses.
Just
and
made
I
more
think
of the corner.
Oh, just target locks, like I think as well. And luckily for him, was able to I guess unlock the brakes and just avoid further contact. But luckily for him, I think it was going to so not to damage that Porsche too much.
Now, while that happened, Dan Clark decided, you know what, I want to join the party. And unfortunately, something happens to him here in turn 5. Here's the that was the onboard. This is through the 5th corner. Grabs some grass, goes for a spin.
Grabs the grass on the inside as well. We don't see that often. And yeah, that was just enough to spin the car around.
You know who we have seen that from? Terry Crouch in qualifying. Did the exact same thing, just was able to hang on to it. As, yeah, big problems there for Clark. Back live, this is Sam Hinchey putting pressure on Todd Alea, trying to hang on for that spot. William Martinez on the pit lane. More drivers starting to find their way to the pits and get their stops over and done with. Drivers yet to pit include our leader, in fact, our top 9 cars. Sam Holt, Terry Crouch, Randall White, Joao Antonio, Moses Choi, Stan Donnet, James Dowling, Todd Alea, Sam Hinchey, as well as Ola Sarnquist, Johnny Alford, Dustin Oberlo, and Brandon Waters, and even Nicholas Batista, Andrew White, and Ken Estep back there in position at 28. There's a battle brewing, though, for the 3rd position, effectively, though, the 4th position once pit stops cycle out. Joao Antonio and Randall White, JP. This is for 3rd currently.
And you can see the number 31, Andrew Antonio, is just slowly but surely inching that time away from Randall White just ahead. So he's just looks like a little bit faster on this final stage of the first stint. Just before the pit stops, looks like the 31 has his car tuned to essentially perfection when you compare it to the number 84 ahead. The question is, who will pit first? Will they pit together as well? And who's going to take more or less fuel out of the two? And looks like they're both coming in together. So there you go. That answers that.
And more than that, actually, here comes our race leader and pole sitter, Sam Holt, onto the pit lane. 3 cars pitting all at once here. Sam Holt, Randall White, Joao Antonio. How about Moses Choi, maybe? Yes, he will pit. How about Stan Donnet? Yes, he will pit. How about James Dowling? We'll find out here in a moment. Yes, he will pit. How about Todd Alea? Yes, he will pit. Maybe Sam Hinchey? Yes, he will pit. I love this.
So it looks like this is the cutoff lap for the Porsches. The only car it looks like to continue was the Ferrari. And you can see all of them stop on the pit lane. Sam Holt is going to be exiting 13.4 seconds. And I feel like this is going to be the benchmark for these drivers right here.
Let's see what Randall White does here with his pit stop. More drivers getting into their boxes. There's Randall White off in 14.15. Joao Antonio out in 14.33. Moses Choi out, maybe, not yet. But he will leave the pit box after 14.52 seconds in the box. Stan Donnet a little bit faster. James Dowling a little bit faster even, a 14.03. Todd Alea will give it out in front of Sam Hinchey. A 13 flat compared to a 14.32. Ola Sarnquist is on the pit lane in his BMW. Clint Fletcher will go on by, actually. Dustin Oberlo comes in his Corvette. Johnny Alford as well. Let's look at Roush as he goes by. There's Alford. Oberlo is in. Waters is in. Sancinelli continues. A lot happening. A very busy place.
Pit lane was a busy place indeed, Andrew. And you can see right here, Oberlo, 15.82 seconds. So a bit longer for him on that 88 Corvette. You can see another Corvette exiting as the BMW comes flying down the main straightaway. So I feel like now we can take a breather, as looks like Crouch is going to be the last driver to dive into the pit lane. For 1 second, I thought he was going to jinx us, essentially just choke on us, and he gets the car all stopped, Andrew. And now the question is, can he close that 6-second gap to hold down into the pit lane?
He might be able to get a part of it, but certainly not the entirety of that gap. And we'll see where Christensen sorts into this. It'll be somewhere around Terry Crouch, but where? As Crouch will come on in for service, comes to a stop in his pit box. Look at it there. Where's Sam Holt? Coming up the hill and going right on by Terry Crouch. So definitely, Terry a little bit slow to get going at first. He will not take the race lead. Jan Christensen, though, a second longer in the pit box. Here's the onboard with Christensen, and Crouch is down and away to turn 1. Big change of position here.
Big games right there, Andrew. That was very important, and you can see right here the difference just on pit lane itself. You can see visually how far apart those two are. They were pretty much nose to tail, with Terry Crouch obviously being behind his teammate before the pit cycle started.
More than 1 second difference between those two drivers. That definitely tells you how much Terry was able to save in his battles with people and using that draft to his advantage. And Yan just never really had anybody out front to do that with. So Christensen needing a little more fuel, and boy, does that hurt him today, relegating him to the 3rd spot once again. Now the question, and I think it's an easy answer, is can Terry Crouch catch Sam Holtz? I don't think so. 15 minutes and change to go, a 6.5 second gap. That just doesn't seem like it's quite within the realm of possibility, but I've been proven wrong before. So Terry, there's your assignment. Let's see if you can do it. Meanwhile, we are going to go Pit Stop TV side by side. Now that we're through the pit stops here at Road America, we'll rejoin you on the far side right before the end of this race.
Have you found yourself trying to hide your joy because you're unhappy with your teeth? Your smile is the first feature noticed in an interview, on a date, or in family photos. We want you to be able to shine bright as your best self, and our teeth whitening system is the perfect step toward restoring your confidence.
Welcome back to the virtual Road America. We never really left you, but we did go side by side there for a moment, and you saw what happened to Ola Sarnquist, or at least part of the result is now an issue for Brandon Waters. So let's go back and recap what we've missed here at JP. Not a whole lot, really just a couple of small battles throughout the field, but a couple of drivers meeting their match late in this race. Again, the big one was Ola Sarnquist, and we've got to go a ways back to find his issue.
Yeah, we saw that in the midpoint of that side-by-side action that we had, and you can see right here, he loses the car and, well, essentially just hits the tire barrier. The lucky thing for him, Andrew, is obviously it's a tire barrier, not a concrete one, so the damage is going to be a bit lighter on him. And but I'm just eager to see how it all came to be. And looks like it's going to be on the final corner, if I'm not mistaken. You can see right here, he uses a bit of that escape road once again, an extra road, and then he overshoot? Yeah, you can see he's very far away from the apex, just puts the throttle down, and unfortunately hits the tire. And well, just really unfortunate, really easy mistake to do as well.
It is very easy to do in a GTE car here at Road America. And then more recently we saw an issue for Brandon Waters. Let's see if we can catch back up with this, as he's got some new left front damage on his number 48 car. Might have already had some of that, but we saw him slow down, and it might have been just kind of a small little spin and catch potentially, but this is a look at trying to find what happened to him anyway. Low is 21st position. He's in 18th currently, only as high as 15th. And oh man, same spot on the racetrack as Ola, and that is how it happens quickly for Brandon Waters. He gets the car righted though and gets back racing. So we've seen a lot of calamity here at Road America. I think certainly rivaling, if not besting, that of Circuit of the Americas last week. But the big point is that we are green flag with less than 10 minutes to go, and things are starting to boil down here, JP. The lead battle, it's split up by 5 seconds nearly, but we've got things happening such as Amir Assad around.
And is that on the King? No, is that on Canada Corner, it looks like?
I think that's in Bill Mitchell Bend, yeah. Out of Canada Corner, yes, headed up to Bill Mitchell. That is a big problem for car 36. Right back into replay mode we go.
So I think that the instant before was under braking. I think he's going to lose the car under throttle, Andrew, under power. And, well, we're just going to take a look to actually confirm this 100% for you. And you can see there Amir takes a bit too much grass, just runs a bit wide, dips the wheel onto the gravel, and unfortunately he's going to be pointing straight into the tire barrier.
Big problems there for Amir. It's been a rough day. He is now 18th position. 11 seconds behind Brandon Waters.
Not a great day. Not a great day indeed for him, is he?
Yeah, it's been a rough day for a lot of drivers. Even Ola checking into the YouTube chat now and saying that was him rage quitting a little bit. It's been a rough day for a lot of guys out there. Hopefully some of their seasons can turn around at Watkins Glen next week. How about a pit stop for Kenny Stepp? He'll head back out onto the racetrack in car 66, the last running driver in the field, currently 27th position after starting 22nd today, and was mired back in 30th for a long time, but has been able to hang on 3 laps down and pass some of the guys who have recently exited this race, such as Chris Generelli and Ola Sarnquist. So just trying to soak up some of those last-minute points there is car 66. Joao Antonio still hounding Randall White. This is for 4th.
This is interesting. The battle's still there. I wonder if Antonio is saving a bit of fuel, Angel, possibly for the last lap overtake. You can see the gap is 1.1. So he's right on the edge of getting the slipstream and not getting the slipstream. And you can see it just fluctuates. Now it's back to 90th per second, up to 1 second. It's just in there. Looks like those two are pretty much in the exact same pace right now.
On board with Antonio, 7 minutes to go in this race. A big thank you to our partners with the series, of course. None of these leagues would be possible without their own partners. In this case, the Simpit, Gomez Sim Industries, and Get Closer Racing accelerate esports. Here at Pit Stop TV, a lot of great people do a lot of great things to help us out as well. A big thank you, of course, to Whiplash Media SimCams, SimWrapMarket.com, and Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine. 6.5 minutes to go. I don't think we've talked nearly enough about the job that Sam Holt has done out front of this field. We thought we saw a good running there at Spa a couple of weeks ago in the final preseason round. We thought we saw a good running last week at Coda from Terry Crouch. But both of those runs, I think, bested today by that of Sam Holt. 24 laps led out of 26 completed laps. Only missed those couple because of Terry Crouch going a little bit extra, but Sam has been out front all day long aside from the pit cycle. Literally has not been touched aside from those couple of laps. Has 4.5 seconds here on Terry Crouch, and Terry may have closed in a little bit in the mid portion of this race, but it's simply not going to be enough here when things are said and done if this pace continues.
Oh, absolutely not. Sam has just been absolutely excellent, Andrew. The work started on qualifying. We saw how big the gap was between him and Jan. Well, since lap 1, he just checked out. Even with the slipstream, Jan unfortunately couldn't really put a lot of pressure on Sam. And, well, after that, it was just, controlling the pace, not pushing the tires too much, not pushing the cars too much, not forcing yourself into a mistake. And, well, he's definitely collecting what he planted. And, early on in the race right now, you can see there 4.7 seconds, and he's just maintaining that gap with elegancy right here. So certainly a fantastic job for the number 18.
With elegance, I like that. That's a good way to put this for Sam Holt. We didn't see anything out of him the first couple of races we covered here with the Simpit, but out of the UK and Ireland, and it looks like the English flag there on his wingtips. Definitely one of the top drivers, it looks like, in these GTE cars, at least here at the Simpit Road Racing Series. And I'm curious, the North American Racing League here on Pit Stop TV, they put together the occasional endurance race of their own. I would be curious to see how these drivers would do in their own endurance race, especially up against more teams of drivers entering maybe a single race weekend like that. Maybe we could try and organize some kind of collaboration. Just putting thoughts out there on the airwaves, but that could be pretty cool to see some of these drivers mesh. And I'd like to see some of these drivers go head-to-head with other drivers we covered and other drivers on the sim and really see how they stack up, because Sam Holt clearly has got something going for him. And currently, you've just seen the gap from our top 5 to Moses Choi. That is the staggering gap between 5th and 6th. The top 5 today are in a class of their own.
Yeah, the same gap that separates the top 5 separates 5th and 6th. That's just insane, The pace has been absolutely excellent, obviously. Sam has been a bit faster than all of them, but still, Andrew, 15 seconds between Antonio and Choi. That is insane.
And you can see it here. We were not lying. 16 seconds even behind these guys. Again, a staggering gap. Now, it is worth mentioning Terry Crouch in recent laps has been putting together some pretty good lap times, but this last lap has been a little bit rough. Might have burned these tires up a little bit, JP. He had gotten it down to about 4.3 seconds, even 4.2 at some spots, and suddenly it's 5.
So, yeah, it was just fluctuating. I feel like Holt was just, taking a bit easier, probably managing traffic, but you can see right here, fortunately, Terry just doesn't have the pace this late in the race. If they were first and second in qualifying, Andrew, I feel like this could be a very different conversation. But Terry having to come from, 6th, 7th, or 8th, it just definitely hurt his overtakes and hurt his, charge through the field. But certainly, a well done job for the number 59 as well.
Yeah, it's not just the race you have to nail in these league races like this. You've got to be on top of things the entire day. That includes practice, that includes qualifying. I think you've really got to assert yourself as the best driver here, no matter the race trim or qualifying trim or anything like that. You've got to just be the fastest. And it all starts in practice, continues into qualifying, and really you could say it starts in qualifying, continues into the race, either way you want to put it. But you can't leave out qualifying. You've got to make sure you are there for that. And while, yes, Terry qualified today, again, he qualified 6th. It just was not up to par, unfortunately, and we're seeing the result of that as Wolfgang Rausch has a problem. Around in turn, I think that was Canada Corner, turn 12. Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Wow, and that takes him out of the top 10 outright. He's now 11 seconds behind Clint Fletcher, 14 behind Sam Hinchey.
And that's just how quickly it can change, just with 1 minute less than 2 laps to go. And unfortunately, you're out of the top 10 just by a small mistake. And look at this battle right here, Andrew. Antonio and White now closer than ever.
Randall White trying to hang on to the 4th position, but he could be unseated here by Antonio. It's tough to say how this battle is going to go, as that's a good look through the trees anyways. There we go, back to turn number 8. It's going to be tough. 1 minute to go. Sam Holt into Canada corner this time by. And look at our race leader there. And he is likely taking the white flag presented by Whiplash Simcams, this time by JP. 1 lap to go. Will befall car number 18. How is a driver, when you get down to this point in the race, how do you not make a mistake? Pressure, blood pressure, I think, is definitely skyrocketing in Holt's position. How do you hold your composure at this point? You still have 6 seconds back, sure, a nice little cushion, but you've got to make sure you're completely there mentally and physically for this last lap.
I feel like you just have to tackle this as just another lap. You cannot think of it as the last lap. Otherwise, you're just going to be, just taking it super slow, and you might be in a position to lose, that P1. We saw, just even great drivers, they crumble under pressure. We saw with, I'm not pretty sure if you follow, Andrew, but Charles Leclerc on the final lap of today's Japanese Grand Prix, it just happened like that. So if you're Sam, you don't want to do what Charles did today. You just want to keep yourself composed, hitting your marks, just like we hear on NASCAR Radioactive all the time. Just hit your marks, just brake wherever where you have been braking the whole race, and just take it easy. Even if you lose a few tenths of a second, even if you lose a second right here, you can afford to do so.
Just looking at some various battles, Amir Assad has passed Brandon Waters back, and Randall White still hanging on to the 4th position as Moses Choi is off. Oh no! That is turn 3, and Moses goes off, loses a lot of spots, down to 8th. He was 6th, so he lost 2 spots to Stan Donnet and Todd Alea. That is big, and he's got some left front damage as well, and James Dowling is going to bear down on him this lap. My goodness. Meanwhile, Sam Holt into the kink for the final time as he'll head down towards the Canada corner. Moses Choi, by the way, down to 9th position now. So a lot happening this last lap. You've got to make sure you're there even for lap 30 of 30. You cannot slip up now no matter who you are in this field. Certainly for Sam Holt, though, it has been a job well done. And he's got just 2 more corners to go. Make that 1 corner to go here at Road America before the Englishman conquers Elkhart Lake. Up out of turn 14, it's nothing but a straight line now to the start-finish line and the checkered flag for driver 18. Sam Holt's going to victory lane at Road America.
And what a victory this has been. Dominant from start to finish. Dominant even from qualifying, Andrew. As soon as he set his flying lap. What a race. Terry Crouch as well. He should be really happy about his performance. Coming all the way from 6th to 2nd. Jan Christensen is going to finish in 3rd place, and looks like Randall White is going to be able to hold off Antonio for 4th and 5th. And well, that's our top 5, Andrew. Now we're going to have to wait another almost 20 seconds for our 6th place finisher.
And there he is, Stan Donnet headed up out of the final corner. Todd Alea will go 7th today, James Dowling 8th. Moses Choi will hang on for the 9th spot over Sam Hinchy, potentially by 1 second. And oh, one car spinning. Who was that? That was the 66th of Ken Estep. Boy, that's not what you want to have happen on the last lap. Thankfully, though, he's out of contention, so it's not really hurting anything worse. And oh, my goodness, Brandon Waters around on the final lap at Road America. 19th position now for him. He just lost 18th, and he's still trying to get that car righted. The good news for him, he is the final car on the lead lap. He will not lose any more positions. He will finish 19th here today, so long as he makes it back to the start-finish line. More cars finishing. There goes Dan Clark, 1 lap down. Ed Sancinelli. And, oh man, we completely forgot about the amateur battle, but Ed Sancinelli just won an amateur, JP. I won't lie, we kind of let that get overshadowed by everything else. Sancinelli wins an AM from 14th overall. Schultheis 2nd. Oberlo 3rd. And Brandon Waters will take 4th whenever he's able to finish. In between Oberlo and Waters are Amir Assad coming to the line now, and Sean Cole in the 18th spot. And, well, Amir Assad is coming somewhere. 22 seconds from Oberlo to Assad. There's Amir Assad, and 2 more seconds on the road. There is Sean Cole. So 1 car left to finish, and that is Brandon Waters, as Barney the Flagman gets his arm exercise in today.
And Santinelli won by a considerable margin as well. I think it was over 17 seconds, or just over 17 seconds. So a huge performance by him as well.
And checkers for car 48. Waters wraps up this race. Looks like no post-race penalties immediately figured into things, so I think these guys are safe, and that's what Brandon Waters thinks of today's race. And he will be looking to improve things next week at Watkins Glen. JP, let's go ahead and take a look at our unofficial race results after 60 minutes of action, 30 laps of racing from Road America. Sam Holt with the win, Terry Crouch second, then Jan Christensen, Randall White, Joao Antonio, your top 5, all within just over 15 seconds of each other. But add, 13 more seconds? No, 23 more seconds. Man, that is a massive gap from 5th to 6th, and you find Stan Donnet in 6th position, then Todd Alea, James Dowling, Moses Choi, and Sam Hinchy, your top 10.
In 11th place, we're going to have the 004 of Clint Fletcher, Wolfgang Hausch in 12th place, Johnny Alford in 13th, Ed Santinelli, as we mentioned, wins the amateur class ahead of Schulteis, looks like 9 seconds, not for 17 seconds, as I mentioned before. The number 88 of Dustin Oberlo is going to finish in 16th, ahead of Amir Assad. Sean Cole, Andrew, in 18th place, a good recovery drive for him. Brandon Waters in 19th, the driver we just saw, the last one to finish on the lead lap, and Wouter van Morik in 20th place.
Finishing in the 21st position, Dan Clark, 1 lap down. The second car to finish 1 lap down behind Van Morik. Mike Nickham in the 22nd spot, then William Martinez 23rd. Christian Clark, your first car 2 laps down ahead of Nicholas Batista and Andrew White on that lap. Ken Estep finishes 27th. Ola Sarnquist exits today's race a little bit early in 28th. Then Generelli in 29th. And Sarator finishes 30th ahead of one more car. Alesh Mong, they're in the 31st position, 29 laps down after the lap 1 melee in turn number 5. Drivers are making their way to the post-race interview booth, and drivers might be listening in that are in the Discord server. Head to the green room under the race broadcast channel category if you want to jump in and have a conversation with us. We will take the top 2 drivers from each class, but third place, if for some reason first or second does not show, we will absolutely give you the time of day. First up, though, Sam Holt wins, of course, as we mentioned multiple times here today. I mean, just absolute domination from car 18, JP. He will take the checkered flag today, and he will be the first driver we speak with. Pretty staggering competition and pretty staggering domination out of Sam. And Sam, that is a round 2 victory, a big one for you here at America. How'd you get it done?
Hey guys, yeah, just that's a tough track, that one. You know, any little mistake can just cost you the race. It's a shame Terry was out of position in qualifying, so I think he would have given us a good battle for the win there. But yeah, it was good fun.
And of course, it was a relatively calm race for you, but no race at Road America is ever that calm. You mentioned the challenge of making sure you were on point every single corner around this racetrack. You do lead into straightaways more often than not here. How do you make sure that through 60 minutes, 30 laps here, you nail every single one of those apexes and never go awry?
Just trying to keep concentration. I mean, there was just one point towards the end where my mind just went elsewhere and I was straight off the track, but luckily it didn't cost me too much time. But yeah, other than that, it's just keeping concentration, really.
And how about Watkins Glen next week? It's another challenging American course, rather fast, rather hard-hitting sometimes. You can make a mistake. Yeah. How do you feel for it?
It's a good one. I like that track, so yeah, looking forward to that one.
Sam Holt finishes first today. Of course, out front of the entire field, 28 of 30 laps led. Sam, congratulations. We'll see you next week.
Cheers, guys.
Sam Holt, domination today here at Road America. That is the best way, I think, to sum that up. And JP, Terry Crouch finishes second. Near domination, but just not quite.
So, Terry, I mean, it wasn't, I guess today just wasn't the day. What happened in qualifying?
Oh, man. You talk about making it hard for yourself. I was really upset with some of my quality performance in the past few races in different leagues. And so I put some time into it this time, and then I did my normal process of putting a banker out there, and then I just drove too hard and I 4-wheel drifted it twice. And then on the last lap that I was going to be fine, I was 0.8 faster. I ran out of fuel up the hill. So I made it really tough on myself.
Oh, that certainly hurts. But well, after the mistakes, I guess you can say, on qualifying, you certainly had the pace on the race. How was it making your way through the field?
I mean, these guys, I've raced them, a lot of them, for so long that you know what to expect, and it's always, a good time. I think I finished right about where I thought I would if everything went well, so I'm just kind of lucky. But everybody was super courteous and really tried to not hinder anybody, so it was great.
And looking towards next week at Watkins Glen, what can we expect from you? I guess just a luckier qualifying attempt, but how about the pace? Could you challenge Sam on raw race pace, just like we thought you could have today?
With Sam, I usually can hang on for a little bit, but I think Elliot will be here next week, so I think we'll both be chasing him, assuming that everybody loves Watkins, so just going to do the best I can, keep trying to string together podiums and top fives, and see how this thing shakes out at the end of the year.
Well, absolutely. Well, it was a pleasure seeing you not only race, Terry, but obviously talk to you as well. Wishing you the best of luck for next round.
Always a pleasure. You guys do such a good job. Thanks for this.
Absolutely. So, Andrew, that was the number 59, Terry Crouch. An excellent race for him. Unfortunately, finished second place, but, well, next week, he could be challenging for the victory.
So what he can do at Watkins Glen in 1 week's time. But meanwhile, your amateur victor today from Frito Sport in his car 57, Ed Sanchinelli. And Ed, what a run here at Road America. You kind of flew under the radar really for most of the day, but you made some big passes on some pro guys. What was it like out there?
It was a bit tough. I really did not know what to expect, and honestly, I didn't expect too much going into it. I felt like the car was down on speed on the long straights, and they're pretty long straights here at Road America. So, I just feel honored to race with these guys, and the broadcast was awesome. I can't wait to watch it. But it was really tough. I didn't know what to expect going into it.
And what's it like as one of the AM drivers out there trying to battle between classes sometimes with some of the pro guys? Is that on your mind at all, or is it just go get whatever positions you can?
Sometimes it can be intimidating. And, other times, I just go into it hoping to survive and try to keep out of trouble in those opening laps. And then from there, try to get that pit strategy going and hoping it all works out and we come out in clean air.
And how about the car difference as well? Being in a BMW here today, a lot of Porsches, and it looks like that's going to be that way for the rest of the season. It seems like you guys are outnumbered by like 20-fold or something like that. What's it like trying to make this BMW work against those Porsches?
There are times that I feel like I'm driving a big yellow school bus out there. The Porsches seem to get off the corners really well, and I see them pull away, But, I'm just trying to keep the car under me and give it enough downforce so I'm not making too many mistakes. But obviously, there are going to be sections in certain tracks we visit that it's going to be really tough.
There you go. Ed Sanchinelli wraps up a class victory here at Road America and is going to move up big time in class standings. Congratulations, Ed. You're off to a great start here.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it. Big thanks to the Simpit and big thanks to you in the broadcast booth. Really enjoy watching these broadcasts you do.
Once again, thanks so much for your time, Ed. A big-time victory for him, JP, here at Road America. But second place, it looks like, per classing, actually, it might be Dustin Oberlo, by the way, in amateur. So, based on our sign-up sheet that we were handed, Schultheis is actually a pro, but he's listed in the leagues and league nicknames as an amateur. I think that might get sorted out because we've been handed Dustin Oberlo here for an interview. Either way, Dustin finishes 16th overall, and he's up next, JP, from Car 88.
So Dustin, a very long race, very long laps. How was it from your point of view, starting from qualifying?
I wasn't really expecting to be here today, up on the podium, but it was a long and hard race, and definitely got through it. Was trying to catch up to Chris there at the end. But my tires just fell off, and I was losing maybe 0.8, 0.9 seconds per lap, so ended up in third.
Still, as you mentioned, a long race. How do you balance this, I guess sometimes early aggression with, a bit of caution to avoid any incidents? And obviously later on in the race, how do you manage, those tires falling off the cliff?
Yeah, so I'm sure everyone saw at the very beginning there's a huge pile up. You just kind of have to lift early and go around it. I've definitely learned my lesson a few times trying to go through things like that, and never turns out well. And then of course at the end, it's all about lift and coast, save the tires, keep the heat out, and hope they hang on for the last 10 minutes.
And well, absolutely. And for the next race at Watkins Glen, what can we expect from the number 88?
Oh man, Watkins Glen's definitely one of my favorite tracks. I think it's the same for everyone else, but I'm definitely gonna put the time in and maybe get a better position next time.
Well, certainly going to be expecting you on the top step of the podium then.
Yeah, let's do it.
Absolutely. All right. Hopefully I didn't just jinx that, because I have a terrible curse that I put on drivers. But
see, he says that after the fact every time. He curses you and then tells you about it.
Yeah, I'm not superstitious, so.
There you go. See, so Andrew, so it's all okay. He doesn't believe in it, so it's not my fault if it happens, all right? But Dustin, wishing you all the best of luck for next week's round. Hopefully we can talk to you then. And, well, that's it.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
So, Andrew, that was Dustin. He's definitely going to finish on the top step of the podium. I'm already calling that. And, yeah, it was great talking to him.
You know what? I would welcome it. A Corvette in P1 is always a sight to see, so hopefully he can do that next week at Watkins Glen. And you know what? Let's talk about the rest of the season coming up. Watkins Glen next week for round number 2. You can see the full schedule before you now. And, 3 American rounds to start the schedule off, I think, feels pretty appropriate. We've got, of course, a very American series. There are plenty of international drivers, of course. The race was won today by an Englishman, and you know what? He'll feel right at home then for round 4 at Silverstone.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think an Englishman will have the legal obligation, Andrew, to win at Silverstone, won't he? I mean, it's just going to be his home track. I feel like that's going to be one of the tracks that he has the most practice on, but with the performance that he had here today, it's going to be difficult, I guess, ruling him out of any possible victories on the remaining schedule.
So 2 rounds wrapped up then for the Simpit Road Racing Series. Congratulations to today's winners, Sam Holt and Ed Sancinelli, and everybody else in between getting their positions and grabbing their points for the afternoon. Upcoming broadcasts here at Pit Stop TV, let's take a look at them. Up next, it is going to be Tuesday evening, and that means we have scratched this week's round at Concord for the VRS Rookie Legends Cup. Just circumstances that be. I filled in over at HBR TV on Tuesday night. It just made a scheduling conflict, but that means, well, look at that. We have Sobo coming up for these guys. The big news with the VRS Rookie Legends Cup really is not so much that we are scratching last week's round, but we are doubling up. We will cover 2 races this Tuesday evening to make up for the fact that we missed 1 race at Concord. So if you are at all interested in watching some Legends racing on Tuesday evening, I certainly recommend, even if you weren't interested potentially at first, check out the broadcast, see what we've got going on Tuesday evening, 8:30 Eastern, and check out those 2 official races open to anybody on the iRacing.com platform, because it is a rookie series with free cars and free tracks. Then Wednesday evening, it's USA International Speedway for the Outlaws Sim Series at 7:30 Eastern as they begin their first race of the second round of their playoffs. And then Sunday, of course, we wrap back around to, well, Watkins Glen with the Simpit Road Racing Series at 1:30 Eastern. An exciting week ahead, JP, and plenty of places to keep up with Pit Stop TV.
Absolutely. You can follow us on Facebook.com/PitStopTV, Twitter.com/PitStopTV_, on Instagram.com/Pit_Stop_TV, and obviously on YouTube.com/PitStopTV1.
Now, before we go, a big thank you to this series as a whole. Last week was our first big show with these guys, and, well, our first points-paying round with the Simpit Road Racing Series, and the response has been astounding. We love you guys for your feedback. Keep it coming. In fact, we're going to roll out a survey via Google Forms that you can fill out here soon. And that goes for, more than just the Simpit Road Racing Series. We're going to have that survey out for viewers as well, so keep an eye out for that potentially on social media or here in the YouTube comments. We want to hear your feedback. We want to hear what you guys think about these broadcasts here at Pit Stop TV, and we love hearing all the positive feedback, especially. Well, we still love hearing the negative feedback when it comes in, but there isn't much of that, thankfully, so we really, really do appreciate what you guys are able to provide for us, and you give us great racing, and then you still tell us what you do and don't like about these broadcasts, and that is so, so valuable, and we love the community aspect in every single league that we join, whether it's the North American Racing League, the Outlaws Sim Series, the Simpit Road Racing Series, or any other league that we have covered or still do cover. We love that community aspect, really, really genuinely, and appreciate it to every degree. That will do it for us this evening at Road America, but before we go, JP, final thoughts here from Elkhart Lake.
I feel like this was, a fantastic race. We had, I guess, battles throughout the field. Often, we couldn't even keep up with all those battles. And obviously, at certain moments, we had, in a span of 10 seconds, 3 different incidents that we had to cover. It was just fantastic. A lot of great battles, a lot of great overtakes. Unfortunately, a few mistakes, but that's just the nature of racing. And now I certainly cannot wait to be back here next week and follow these guys on Watkins Glen, because I feel like that's going to be extra, extra special.
Once again, a big thank you to our partners here with this series, of course, at Simpit, the Simpit, then Gomez Sim Industries, and Get Close Racing, Accelerate Esports, and our partners here at the channel, Whiplash Media Simcams, SimRepMarket.com, and Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine. That will do it for us here at Road America. Stick around for a couple of messages from our partners here at Pit Stop TV. Would certainly appreciate that. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and have a great night. We'll see you next time.